Welcome to the Mr. Universe Meets podcast, in association with the Mansformation Programme, Gold Standard Nutrition and CMP, 3 brands at the top of their game. My Mansformation Programme is growing every year and helping more and more busy men to take control of their fitness, their physique and their energy levels, so they can show up each day as the best version of themselves. I'm only ever going to work with brands that I genuinely believe in, and now Mr. Universe Meets is supported by 2 brands I've believed in, used and stocked in my gym for years. Gold Standard Nutrition is a company I've worked with for over 10 years, and if you're a gym owner that wants to add extra revenue to your business while providing customers with a better service and top quality products, then you need to speak to Gold Standard Nutrition. I'm also really excited to have CMP on board with the podcast now. I've used CMP products since day one. I've used them right through my competitive bodybuilding career, and I still use them to this day. On this podcast, we're going to speak to peak performers who have reached the very top of their field. We're going to look at their mindset, habits and routines that have made them elite, and I want you to take advantage of the lessons they teach so you can go and achieve your own goals faster. I would love it if you could like, share and subscribe, and enjoy the podcast. Everything that I've done has been like it's sports people, like Jamie Peacock, ex-England Rugby League, and people like that. I've had a couple of footballers on, just lower league footballers, but quite into the mindset side of stuff. Liam Harrison, world Thai boxing champion and stuff. So it's more about like sports people, habits, mentalities, that sort of thing. And I thought this is kind of going off on a bit of a tangent anyway. So ideally,
it's always going to be much better in person, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like Gary Brecker and Tom Platts, people like that. Are they ever going to be in Spain? Probably never, no.
No,
so
that's it.
It's not going to happen.
And the finances of actually saying, look, I'm going to fly you in, put you up and all that sort of stuff.
Mate,
so, exactly. So,
So I do my best, but if somebody is in town, I'd love to do it. But, and I don't want to do all bodybuilding stuff. Just interesting people. Like bodybuilding is a big part of my journey, but it's not everything. So
No.
Trying to introduce people into a different way of thinking. Even bodybuilders, it's like great, but is that serving you now? What you used to do in the past was appropriate then, but is it appropriate now? And do you have the courage and the balls and the fucking wherewithal to actually realise that you need to change lanes or make changes?
It's funny, isn't it? Because obviously, once you're in bodybuilding, that's it. You're in. It's laser focus. It's tunnel vision. It's this is all that really matters.
Which is a useful skill to have. But it can work for you and work against you, can't it?
Yeah. You need that in bodybuilding though to get to where you want to be. But
anything, I should imagine. You want to be really good at something. It's not a fucking part-time.
No.
thing, is it? It's like it's your life, mate. It's every ounce of your fucking being have to go into that, because otherwise somebody else is going to be putting more in and they get ahead, So that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? But often people just get stuck they get stuck where they're comfortable, but maybe it's not where they should be.
No, and that's it. I mean, I think like you say, I think it's quite hard. I still think, could I go back? Could I go do a little bit? But it's like, why?
Yeah, exactly. Why
I got everything out of it that I could have possibly wanted for it with myself. Obviously. At
some point, it's just become part of your life to be healthy. Yeah, it's important to keep doing the gym, but it's just part of your life. It's not the focus of your life. Like any sport, and I suppose you've got to adjust. Yeah, it takes time to adjust.
That's one thing I want to cover with you anyway. Actually, like that sort of like where you transition from that sort of intense lifestyle into something different. So. Well, I'll kick this off now.
Go ahead, mate. You kick it off.
All right, good stuff. Welcome along to the Mr. Universe Meets podcast. Dorian Yates, 6 times Mr. Olympia, the greatest British bodybuilder ever to have lived, arguably the very best in the world to ever do it. Thank you so much, mate, for coming down to
Thanks
York.
for having me on, mate. Just so happens I'm in the north of England, and actually it's the first time I've been to York.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like one of the places in England that I haven't been, so just a quick visit now to see the cathedral and everything, but it's got a good vibe, man.
It's lovely.
It's a nice town. It seems you can feel, especially I travel a lot, so different towns, different feeling, different ways of being, and York seems to be a a nice place, obviously, with a lot of history here.
Yeah, and a big touristy place. You get a lot of people coming and visiting. I think you need more than a couple of hours.
Yeah, we got stuck in the crowds, the Christmas crowds, trying to get back from the cathedral to the car and back was a mission. So a little bit delayed, but anyway, we're here, and I'm glad I had a look at York.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate, definitely. So, well, like I said, thanks so much for coming down and doing this today, mate. Like when I first walked into a gym at 98, I was 15 years old. I went on work experience to the local bodybuilding gym. In fact, it's the House family, who you'll know from.
Brian House,
Brian,
and his son,
So there's Paul and Brian. I worked for Brian at his gym, and when I walked in there, you were all over that gym, from the magazines to the Warriors storybook that was on sale behind the counter, and you were obviously.
Well, my pro career was from starting in 1990 and finishing in 1998. So 90s bodybuilding, I was the guy. I was the guy mostly on the cover of the magazines and so on. So it's nice to hear how many people that I inspired initially to make their first initial trip to the gym and get into bodybuilding and everything. So I hear that so much, but it's always rewarding every time I hear it. That, hey man, if I didn't see you on the magazine, maybe I would never have gone to the gym, and so on and so on.
Yeah, that's it. Even like I say, I remember back in those days in the gym, like when people were talking training, your name was dropped so many times. I just think it's quite weird, isn't it? Like, you'll never even known any of this, but you were the talk of the gyms at that time. And certainly them sort of bodybuilding gyms.
I'm aware of it. I mean, obviously, we didn't have internet then, but you have the grapevine.
Yeah.
It's nearly as fast, right? The bodybuilding grapevine, and then all the news and also the exaggerations. Oh, I saw this guy and it was the biggest guy I've ever seen, and I saw this guy and he's taking whatever the most steroids. All these kind of crazy rumors. There was many about me, but one of them was that because all the guys knew I trained in the gym in the morning, then I'd go home and have my lunch, and I'd disappear for a few hours because I was sleeping. It was part of my regime. I must sleep 8 hours a night, and I must sleep 2 hours in the afternoon, and it's just non-negotiable. And I must eat 6 meals a day and all that stuff. Yeah, so everyone knew in the afternoon I wouldn't be around, and so somehow it started that this is when I had my dialysis, because I had the dialysis machine at home in my bedroom. So that's where I hooked myself up. Crazy rumors like that. Back in the day, and all the. The gym, something would happen in London, you'd hear up north by the next day, everyone knew, and just with the phone. So that's how it was back then, rather than the internet now. So there's a lot of rumors and stuff like that. There's a different way that the information went around.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I mean, look, let's. I mean, as you've been on so many podcasts before, and the start at the beginning, where did it all start for you, and how did you even get involved in a sport like bodybuilding?
Well, I suppose I always looked up to and admired muscular physiques, and I was brought up wasn't really a farm, wasn't like a productive dairy farm or anything, but it was a small holding. We had horses and chickens and dogs and all that stuff, and your mate lives 2 miles away. So you're walking or you're riding your bike, and it's very physical. As a kid, it was very physical. And then I suppose the first thing was with Bruce Lee and the Kung Fu. When I was like 12 or 13, that was really big. Bruce Lee was popular. And in my mind, he had a physique. And I look now, he looks kind of skinny, but he did have the physique. He had the abs, he was ripped, he had a bit of lats. And, that was my first. And I had one of those bullworker things. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
It's like so I had one of those, and I was always doing like squats in my bedroom and push-ups and sit-ups, and I did karate, but I found it a bit boring, the actual karate. But when we did the physical training, like the conditioning, I loved that. I loved pushing myself doing that. And then I got introduced to the weights. So this was when I was like in the last year at school, maybe. I started doing a bit of weights. And then when I left school, I also left home, and my life was a bit chaotic for a period of time, so I didn't go to the gym. It was later on when I got into trouble, and I sent to a detention center for a few months. And in the detention center, it's like it's kind of like a military regime, and they want you to exercise and cross-country runs and circuit training and weight training. I just realised I was like the fittest guy with the best physique in 300 guys inside there. So,
and that just come from your
from
background,
the past, past background, and obviously some genetics. I wasn't huge, but I was always ripped. I always had abs, and I was one of the strongest in there, even if the guys were heavier than me. So, you know, just doing bench press, squat, and deadlifts and some stuff in there. And I realised that this is what I should be doing. I always thought I'm different. I don't fit in. I'm like, what is this life where people get a job and they get a house and they have some babies and they shit and they go to bed and they get up again? And is that it? Is that life? I mean, I always had this thing that ain't it, mate. That ain't it. You're destined for something different. And I realised this is what it is. So I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm doing it seriously. And I'm doing it as a career, not as in at that point, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder and be Mr. Olympia. Maybe that could be a vague dream, but I just know if I do this, it's positive. I put my energy into it. Something good's going to come of it. Maybe I can win competitions. Maybe I can one day have my own gym, something like that. I had nothing. I had no family, no jobs, no nothing. So this was a big dream. And I said, right, I'm going to have to get a job. I'm going to have to get my own apartment because I was living at friends' places and this and that. So I got a job, I got an apartment, and I said, I'm going to start bodybuilding seriously on this day. And that day that I did my first workout, I wrote it down, my first workout. And every preceding workout from 1983 to 1997 was written down, and notes and diet, and I wrote everything down from the start, very analytical. And so it wasn't like I drifted into it and I did okay, and then somebody said, oh, why don't you do competition? And well, I didn't drift into it like that. I came to make it a career because I've got something I can work with here, yeah, and I think I can be quite good at it. So, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the training. I enjoy pushing myself because I really enjoy that physical aspect of it. I enjoy the analytical part where I had to find, I know internet, as we're saying, like, you got to read magazines, you got to buy books on nutrition, you got to study, and you got to plan, and you're going to do all this yourself. There was no concept of a coach at that point, so bodybuilding was a very individual sport, and that was my nature.
Did you have any mentors though, or someone that kind of guided you down that path and taught you what you needed to be taught, or was it just self-taught, reading books and kind of just seeing what worked for you?
Self-taught, but I did have mentors, but they didn't know they were my mentors because they were just guys in the magazine. So there'd be guys like Mike Mensa, kind of quite an intellectual guy as well as a physical guy, and a thinker, and I related to that as well. So there was Mike Mensa. So my father died when I was 13. So, you know, you look for male role models. And when I was younger, it was the guys that could fight, or the guys that were the tough guys. These are the guys you look at as male role models, where I was anyway. And then I found about these guys, the bodybuilders in the magazines, and Mike Mensa and the Arnold from the Pumping Iron and everything. And that's what I aspired towards. So they were mentors without knowing, but did I have somebody that was guiding me? No, I did it myself, and I got myself to my first competition that I won. It was a novice competition, but like everyone was just freaked out. Like, why? Who are you? And what are you doing in the novice competition? I said, well, I'm from Birmingham. It's my first competition, and you know, I don't think I'm good enough to be in the heavyweights yet. Maybe next year.
How old were you then?
23. And they're just literally laughing at me. They're like, mate, you're the best heavyweight we got in the country. Like, you're better than all our guys. I'm like, nah. I really couldn't believe it until Ron Davis, who was the head of the federation and he judged at the Mr. Olympia, he said, come sit down, and showed me some guys from the Olympia, and he said, you can beat these guys. And I was like, nah, come on.
And this is off the back of your first show,
yeah,
23-year-old.
He said, you got the potential to beat these guys, and you've been training for less than 2 years. And it was hard to take in. And I mean, I knew I was good, but this was something else. So then I really started thinking, wow, you know, you've got something here that maybe you can be a professional bodybuilder and make something from it. So it happened quite quick. But to answer your question, no. I mean, Ron was helpful in that way, in that he was a judge at the Mr. Olympia, was a well-respected personality in the bodybuilding scene. So he knows, and he's telling me, you can do this. But he wasn't telling me how I do this. He was asking me already, how do you train? And I was teaching him about training in the gym, even though he'd been around for 30 years, because I'd like analysed everything and I'd like created this system of intense training, quite infrequent, 3 or 4 times a week. And it was totally different from what everyone else was doing. So I were teaching people about training and nutrition because people weren't really studying it at that point. It was just word of mouth or whatever you read in the magazines and so on. So Ron inspired me in that way, but he didn't teach me anything. And then there were a couple other people that helped me, like Tropicana. It's now a distribution company, but it was a supplement brand out of Birmingham. It's a guy out of Birmingham, Dave McInerney, and he gave me my first sponsorship before I turned pro, which helped me out financially, and very nicely said, I think when you go to America, you're just going to blow them away, and they're going to get big offers, and if you do, I'm not trying to down here. I'm just trying, so that I appreciate that. So there's people like that. But as far as the process of bodybuilding, the training, the diet, the steroids, the everything, that was all self-taught to the degree where people were seeking my help. It wasn't the other way around. So I didn't actually have anyone teaching me. I learnt it myself. And for me, that was a rewarding part of the process. And I'm not a coachable person that somebody will tell me to do that and I'll say, right, okay, boss. I'm going to be like, why? And it'll go on like that. So I'm not very coachable. That's why bodybuilding was very suitable for me, because it's all about you, and it's all, I said at the end of the day, I go on the stage and I compete. If I win, it's all down to me. If I lose, it's all down to me. Where it's not really the case now, is it? Because when they talk about competing, it's like, when we compete in the Olympia, who's we, mate? Like, you're going to compete, aren't you? But now it's the coach and the nutritionist, and there's a whole team thing going behind something which was really an individual sport, and that's how I enjoyed it. Yeah. Not to say that it was better or worse, that approach to what people are doing now. It's just, that's what I did, and for me, that was a more rewarding way to do it.
Well, there's no accident that you rocked up at a novice show and people are saying that you're the best heavyweight in the country at the time. How much of that was to do with the fact that you were tracking every single thing that you did and reviewing and analysing and tweaking? Was that,
That meant that I didn't waste any time.
Yeah.
Like, I suppose if you think to yourself, you're a kid now and you want to go do bodybuilding, it's easier now because you've got loads of information on the internet, but sometimes that's not helpful because I find people are just so confused in what is a fairly simple process if you boil it down, but everyone's making it complicated because now it's an industry and everyone wants to have their niche and everyone wants to make money, so they overcomplicate things. So you can almost get too much information. But as I had studied training and studied nutrition, even before I started training, I'm like, I'm going to do this soon, but I'm not ready yet because I've got to get my place ready, but I can prepare my mind, I can study. So when I'm starting, I know what I'm doing. So I believe I missed a lot of trial and error time, maybe making mistakes. I pretty much knew what I was doing from day one. And that was my first contest that I dieted for. And I came in really good shape for a guy that was in his first show. So obviously what I was doing was working, and it was just flying in the face of what a lot of guys in the gym told me I should be doing. Like, I was getting ready for this bodybuilding contest, and after training, I was having a protein shake and a little dairy milk chocolate bar. The guys were freaking out, like, you can't do that, you got to eat only fish and rice. I'm like, nah, as long as my calories are below what I'm burning, I'm going to lose weight. I was just calculate my calories and make sure I've got enough protein. I'll be all right, mate, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then, everyone shut up when I won the contest. They're like, well, okay. Well, he obviously knows what he's doing because he's in better shape than all of us.
And you see, obviously, you had that information, you studied it beforehand, but the information's one thing, but having the work ethic to actually implement what needs to be done. And obviously, you were known for being such a hard worker, such an intense guy. Like, where did that work ethic come from?
I think it was always there. Like I did things that would look back now and I think, so we had this run at school. I've told this story before, but it's worth telling again. We had this charity run at school. I was 11 years old, and it was to raise money to get a school minibus. So you do lap around the 400 meter trap. So the kids were told, like, go to your friends and your family and all that, and get them to sponsor you 2 pence a lap or something like this, yeah. And we raise money for the school. So I never really ran that much. I used to ride my bike and walk a lot, but I wasn't practicing run or anything. But my mate in the class was, and his whole family were boxers, yeah, like lightweights. So they ran a lot, and he was like an ideal runner, lightweight. I was a bit more stocky, you know. But anyway, I got bantering with him, like saying, I'm going to beat you on that run. You know, and so it was back and forth, yeah. So when we do the run, we've gone around the track like, I don't know, 14, 15 times around the track, and I'm suffering. I'm like, fuck, it's killing me, I can't keep going. And there's just me and him, just me and him, just me and him. And at some point, then he buckled over and he stopped. And I kept going. Then it was just a funny like sensation, like I'm floating. And I just keep running and just keep running, just keep running. Until I'd done 45 times around the track. And the teacher's like, I got to go home, Yates, you got to stop. I remember it was on a Saturday afternoon because it was a female teacher. She's like, I want to watch the FA Cup. It's on at 3:30 and it's 3 and I've got to go. So you're going to have to stop running. 45 laps, yeah. So then I went to collect the money. I went to people and they were like freaking out, like, you've got to pay 5 pence times 45 and all this stuff. So I did that stuff and different things, which I didn't think about it at the time, but I had some unusual physical capabilities, not any skill for playing football or anything like that, but just resilience, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed pushing myself. Like, it was interesting, and that was like, I just went to a different world, went through a pain barrier or something that I didn't even know what it was. And the funny thing was, like, nobody really made a fuss about it. My parents or the teachers didn't, what's up with this kid running 45? They just kind of forgot about it, you know. But so it was always there, and I enjoyed that challenge. And then I used, I call it fuck you motivation. So fuck you to anything, anyone in my life that said I couldn't do it, wouldn't be there, whatever. So I took all the negative things, I took all the anger that I had about my life, what happened, whatever, doesn't matter what it is. You take it all and put it all into the training. So it's like a alchemical process of turning something negative into something positive. So I took all that, put it into the gym, put all that into the workout, got rid of all that anger, all that negativity, all that aggression, but used it to build something, to turn it into something positive. So that's where it comes from as well. I had a lot of that inside me, which of course a lot of young men, that can just go the wrong way. Yeah, you know, all that anger and aggression and everything. But I used it in a way that there wasn't much left of it outside the gym. You know, so I just left it all in there.
So back then, I suppose even quite a spiritual thing to do there, taking the negatives and turning it into positives.
Yeah, just doing it without really knowing what you're doing. Now I can analyse it from different angles and say that's what I was doing. But you're not really thinking about it when you're doing it. It's just doing it, you know. Yeah. I'm going to train, and that just came out of me. And it was always like people were like in the gym, like, I actually remember Bill Kazmaier, you know, Bill, that you had him on the show, right? So I just won British Championship first time, and I was opening my gym. But, you know, we were knocking down walls and painting and all that stuff, so I couldn't train there. So I was going to this other gym in Birmingham called the Forum. And it was also bodybuilding, but they had a lot of strongman stuff there. The guy that owned it was a powerlifter. So I had all the stones and all that. And Kazmaier used to base himself there, train there, whilst he was in UK doing his tours. So he might be there for 2 or 3 months training. So I go there to train because my gym's not ready, so I'm going there to train. And he got the owner and he was like, who's that kid in there? He's like, it's Dorian Yates. What the fuck is he doing? He's a bodybuilder, British. Oh, fuck. He said, the kid. He said, you're fucking strong for a bodybuilder. Like, with, you know, a degree of respect. Yeah. And I was like, really? Yeah. And I'm like, I thought everyone does that. He's like, nah. He's like, nah, they're powder puffs or whatever word he used. Fucking bodybuilders, lightweights, pumping up. So, you know, it was like I was a bodybuilder. I was an honorary a strong man as well. So yeah, I've seen Bill over the years, and we reminisce about that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Obviously, nothing kind of shows that intensity more than them iconic the Blood and Guts videos, and with the training partner, is it Leroy?
Yeah, that's interesting because, I'm a fan. I started as a fan and everything, so I was always looking for inspiration, and I'm watching the videos, whatever training videos were available, or a bit of training. They used to do this one before the Olympia where they show all the guys training in Gold's Gym, and I'm looking and I'm like, this training looks wanky to me. Like, do they really train like that, or they're just pumping for the cameras or something? But I realized that at that point, it's not like anyone's got a camera or a camera phone. These things don't exist. If you want a film camera, you're gonna have to go rent it. It's not like something that anyone had at that point. Yeah. So then you get like a film production company to come and film your training. And of course, they're looking at it from their point of view, which is lighting, shadows, sound, second take, third take, and all that stuff, yeah? So I'm like, fuck that shit, man. That don't look inspiring to me. So I said to a friend of mine, Kevin Horton, that's a photographer, I said, look, man, can we get a camera? And I want you to come in the gym, yeah, and film me when I'm training, but I don't want to know you're there. I don't want you to talk to me. I don't care about the lighting particularly. I don't care for shadows. I want you to get the real training so that people can see what I really do, and there'll be no second takes and all that stuff. Just film it. Get me in there. Get the weights in there. And that's it, mate. That's your guideline. Yeah? So we did that for a week. So it was a real genuine workouts. And I was just forgetting the camera was there so that people could see the real workouts, and it worked the way I wanted it to work. Yeah. It's heard it a million times. I'll watch Blood and Guts before I go to the gym so much, or we're out the tape or whatever. It's the number one pre-workout because there's the energy. It's real. So we're back at home and we're doing the playbacks, and it was in colour. So I was like, something. And then it just came to me. I said, mate, can you turn the colour off and put it in black and white? I was like, that's it. And I was a big fan of that film. I don't know if you've seen it, Raging Bull, with Robert De Niro. It's about Jake LaMotta, and it's a fight film. Yeah. And it's really graphic. You see the blood flying, but the whole film is filmed in black and white. And it's just got that, it's more grainy and genuine and hardcore. So that's what we do, is turned off the colour and made it black and white. And that was it, And Leroy was training with me at that time, which was great. He was a great training partner, but I think people get the wrong idea. They think he was my coach or something like that. Leroy was a good training partner, but he was one of my training partners. Yeah. There was other guys that worked out with me longer than he did. He came to train with me when I was already 3 times Mr. Olympia. Right. Yeah. So sometimes people get the wrong idea, like, oh, what a great coach you had. And no, I never had a coach. I had guys that trained with me, and they did exactly what I told them to do in that exact order, and they were not my coaches. They were just there. And Leroy was very vocal and loud. I wasn't so much. And other guys I trained with, it would have been a different vibe because it would not be so loud. So great. It's entertaining for people, but
I think it adds to it, doesn't it? Though?
It's entertaining, it's entertaining, but it's not actually like I had other guys that, and it just like myself, would be just like in their ear, one more, mate. That's enough sometimes. It was great, but that's the thing. I had other guys. I feel a bit bad for the other guys sometimes. That's why I mention them, because they were in the trenches with me for 4 or 5 years, and nobody ever knows them. So Leroy was a great training partner, but so was Kenny and a few other people that train with me. But I achieved what I wanted to achieve with that video. That was exactly, I wanted people to say, holy shit, let me go to the gym. And that's, I don't count sales, but I should imagine it's probably the best selling training tape out there over the years. Yeah.
If you're a gym owner that has a spare 1 square metre of space available in your reception, and you want to use that space to make a few extra £1,000 each year while providing your members with a better service and helping them to get better results, then you need to be speaking to Gold Standard Nutrition. I've sold their products in both of my gyms since the very beginning, and they are still one of the best sources of additional revenue. In fact, that 1 square metre that the freezer sits in is probably the most profitable square metre of the entire gym. If you run your own gym, or you know someone who runs their own gym, it doesn't make sense not to stock their products unless you don't like money or you don't want to provide the best service for your members. All the info you need is in the podcast notes, and there is a link for you to click if you want more information on how you can stock them in your facility now. So you obviously, you had the nickname The Shadow.
Yeah.
Did you ever kind of play up to that mysterious image, sort of like I'd disappear after the shows or go back into jazz? Or was that just generally you? Were you just quite an introverted guy? Or
it might have been a good strategy or something, but it wasn't just me being me, because I loved the training of bodybuilding, but I didn't really like people looking at me, which seemed strange. So I was just like, but the contest is only once a year. So it don't matter if you're really into that bit or not, because the rest of the year is when you're doing all the training and everything, and they challenge yourself and having to diet and everything like that. So it was just me being me. I didn't look for publicity. I didn't look to be friendly with the judges or anything. I just came to the competition as it was a benchmark for me in my career, and it was a goal for me. And I came to do the competition, and then it was over. I go home and get back into training, which was what I enjoyed. I wasn't there to get all the adulation. That comes anyway, but that wasn't the motivation for me to train. So it was just me being me, going to the gym and training, and that was my modus operandi. I always did that. Even when I was Mr. Olympia, I would expose myself as little as possible because I wanted to keep what got me there, which is the hurdle that a lot of people fall from. So they're amateurs, so they're putting everything into it, and they've got their routine and they're training and they get there to be pro, and now there's money to be made, there's contests, there's sponsors, there's people pulling you from left and right, and there's smart guys coming up now and telling you that everything you did to get to that level was actually wrong. And those guys listen to them because these guys, they've been around longer, they must know more. And they start then drifting from the very thing that got them to be successful. And it's a fine line. You're a professional bodybuilder, that's your job to make money. So there's various ways you can do that. But a lot of it involves traveling, which means you're going to compromise your training a bit, maybe a diet, you're going to maybe not get the rest you need and all that stuff. So it's to balance that now, more pull on your time to make money, which is good, but less time and focus for the very thing that made you great in the first place. So I didn't want to fall into that, and that's why ultimately I never moved to the US, because I knew if I moved there and I was under sponsorship of Joe Weider, he knew he couldn't access me at the drop of the hat because I'm over in England. But if I lived around the corner in California, you get more pull on my time, and it was a psychological edge that I was aware of, that nobody saw me all year. Where all the other guys knew each other, they see each other, and it's familiarity between each other. Do you
think you left much money on the table by not going out there?
Probably, yeah. But, I earned still a good living. Could I have earned more? Yeah, I probably could have earned even double, but would I have been 6 times Mr. Olympia or 4 or 5? You don't know. So I did it my way, and money's good, but just that feeling that you did absolutely give everything to your chosen path.
Yeah.
I'm relaxed. I'm sitting in my old rocking chair as an old man saying, in my heart, I know I couldn't have given anything more to that, anything more. And it's a very satisfying feeling that I could put everything out there. I left it all out there, and I didn't compromise what I wanted to do just for money. So I tried to keep a balance, and it's a hard thing to do.
So it's quite a testament, I suppose, to the power of environment. Like you obviously, like you say, you had your gym, your temple gym, you had your training partners, you had a little team around you that was you were training with. Obviously, home life and that support network and stuff like that, like how important is that sort of environment to you becoming?
I think for me, it was very important for me to keep my feet on the ground and to be with people that I know and they've known me for a long time, and they're not going to be like kissing your ass and blowing smoke up your ass or something, because I'm just Dorian that they knew. I was Dorian before I was the bodybuilder. They knew me then. So that's very valuable. Like, you move away, you're going to get so much people pulling on your time. And, everyone's around you, right? Telling you're great. They're there for their benefit. That's what you realize. I mean, when you're young and, you're successful, you think, I'm the greatest and everyone loves me because I'm me. Mate, they're just there for whatever reflected glory or money or whatever it is that they can make. You get a lot of new friends.
Yeah.
All those new friends I made? I don't have them anymore. I got my old friends that I always had, and you go through that. So I've seen it a lot of times, guys that are really good amateurs, and then they get a bit lost when they go to the pros, and there's money, and, there's distractions.
Yeah.
You get fame, parties, women, opportunities to make more money. It's pulling you in different directions.
Saying just stop doing the things that made you actually good in the first place. Right?
Yeah, and then you go down. So I did consider moving to the States just because of that. I could have made a lot more money, probably. But I didn't like being in the limelight. And I just wanted to train. I just wanted to do my thing. And it was always like that from the start. I was never in I'm going to do bodybuilding because it's a stepping stone to the movies or whatever. No, it's purely, I just want to do bodybuilding, and I want to be the best bodybuilder that I can be. I want to see how far can I take this. And I was at one point in territory where nobody had been as big or combining muscle size with conditioning and everything. So I was in a whole new territory, that's what I set out to do.
Yeah. So there's I want to talk about there's Arnold, I think he's saying that the wolf on the hill's not as hungry as the wolf climbing the hill. I suppose how did the drive to become Mr. Olympia differ from the drive to keep retaining, and how was the mindset different from the two? Interesting
question. Because what I call fuck you motivation, it's coming from feeling you're an underdog, and then you need to fight to, because you're an underdog and everyone's trying to keep you down. And I had that. Everyone thinks I can't win because of X, Y, Z. Oh, I'm winning now. British champion now. Yeah, but everyone thinks you can't be a pro because you're not American, and the Americans are better. And fuck them, I'm going to show them. Go to America. Win the pro show, then I'm going to Mr. Olympia. Lee Haney's Mr. Olympia, but I'm just a kid from England, so I'm still the underdog. And Lee Haney's 7 times Mr. Olympia, and he's got money, and he's got everything, and I want that. Yeah, so I'm going to try to beat him. I didn't. I got second in my first Olympia, which is great. But then he retired, So now, logically, I'm the favourite. And that was a situation in 92, and it was really disorientating for a little bit. It's like, what? Everyone's saying I'm the favourite now and I'm going to win. First of all, it's like, wow, that's really, could be a reality then. So you can be the best in the world? And then you start nah, not me. Why? No. And then, you go back and forth and well, fucking, it's got to be somebody. And why not you? Is there anyone out there that's given more to this than you? No. I know, that's fucking, don't hesitate there, no. So you deserve it then? Yeah. So why not then? Yeah. But it was a few weeks of this thing. So by the time I got to the Mr. Olympia, I was ready to be okay, I'm ready to do that. But it was a bit of a struggle at first because I've always been got to beat this guy, got to beat this guy. Now there was really no one to beat. And then I won it. But I still retained some underdog status from that win because I felt, rightly or wrongly, that the bodybuilding community, especially in America, because they're so used to everyone being a champion being yeah, okay, so the British guys got it this year. But next year, one of our guys is going to get it. Yeah, that was the feeling that I got from people. So really, so give me that again, you know. I'm going to be so good, so far ahead next year, you just don't even understand what's going to happen.
But you potentially kind of embellish that a little bit just to create that drive.
Yeah, of course. You know, you create mental enemies in order to battle and defeat. That's what I always did. So, all right. And then next year, the 93 was like probably one of the most, well, probably was the, I think, most outright.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Dorian, stand to the side. Now let's get on with the competition. It was more or less like that. They called me out once, I think, and they asked me after the contest, like, so they only called you out once, and then they didn't call you out so what did you think? I said, well, logically, I'm either first or last. And I know I wasn't last, so I was just waiting to get my check, you know, and the trophy, and that was the second one, and then it was trying to keep it. And 94, I tore a bicep 6 weeks out, and this was like, imagine, I've done this thing, I've given it everything. Not only I'm now Mr. Olympia, I'm the most outstanding Mr. Olympia to this point, and everyone's saying this guy cannot be beaten for many years. Now it's over. Tore my bicep 6 weeks out, my whole arm's black and blue. And that was the conversation again. It's over, mate. Like, can you imagine? You've been Mr. Olympia, now it's just over. Because there's no way you're going to compete with this. By tearing a bicep out 6 weeks out, you kind of move your arm, it's black and blue. So there was that conversation. Then it was again, it gave me a bit of underdog status because like I got to battle through this injury now. Can I still compete and win even though I've got this injury? That became...
Did you have to have surgery then before?
No, I didn't have surgery with that one because what happens is the muscle belly tore. So it just slides up and it shortens. So there's nothing to reattach. If you detach your tendon from the humerus, you know, the tendon comes off, then you can get the tendon and fasten it back on. So in that case, you can do it. But mine was like Tom Platt's as well. He had his where it just slides up and it's a shortened bicep and there's nothing you can do about that surgically. So I was just kind of like, had to limit my training and last 6 weeks and everything. And I don't know what happened on the day of the contest. I start to feel sick and get bloated and retain water. And luckily by the night show, I was looking a lot better and I won that contest. But it was coming again from that underdog thing because of the injury. And then 94, everyone was like, yeah, but how can you win? Because he had a bicep injury and it wasn't as good as last year. Most people accepted that still I could win, but, you know, some people didn't, especially Sean Ray was very vocal. How can the guy win and everything? And I remember Sean put something in the magazine saying, you know, well, Dorian's had his day now. I suppose he can carry on guest posing and stuff, but obviously he's over as a Mr. Olympia. Oh, really?
Lit a fire.
Yeah. So another, you know, turned around again, and then 95 was arguably as good as or better than 93. So every year was a different approach, you know.
Can you explain that feeling of winning? Because essentially that is like, you know, winning the World Cup in football, but doing it 6 times.
Everyone would have their own experience of winning, I suppose. But I'd learned, I know, you know, you learn these things about yourself as you go through the process of life. I learned that because my dad died when I was young, and I never really wanted anyone to see me crying about it at school and all this stuff, because, you know, it's a different day back then. You're a man, you're not supposed to show your feelings and all that. Was just the way things were. So I was very good at suppressing my emotions. So people can't, like, the guy wins a contest and it doesn't, like, his expression doesn't change. Like, what's up with him? But when the first Mr. Olympia I won, I felt like I was going to break down and cry. And if you look carefully, there is a picture where I'm biting my lip, because it's like it's a reaction to suppress that feeling that you're going to break down in tears, and I couldn't fucking do that in front of people. So it's the point where I'm just biting my lip to suppress that. So I had that overwhelming feeling of joy, I'm going to cry and everything, but I just suppressed it. So it looks like I wasn't that excited, but I was that first time. It was surreal. It was like, your whole life you've been dreaming about this, and now it's a reality. It was just a surreal feeling. And then after that, I was so focused and so visualizing that I had won, so much that in my mind it was already a fact. I'd already won the competition. So when the competition's over and they're giving me the trophy and everything, it's not like, oh wow, oh really? It's me? Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, thanks God, or falling on the floor and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but I knew I was going to win. So can I go eat now? I mean, that was it. Is it over now? Now you got to take some pictures backstage. Oh, really? Shit, I just want to go eat now, yeah?
Do you still follow bodybuilding these days?
A little bit, yeah, because of the online and everything. And I go to the Mr. Olympia. I didn't go to watch the show this year. People get upset because I say I'm not interested, like, really, at this point in competitive bodybuilding, because it's not my life. My life contains so many more things. And bodybuilding is a huge part of my life. And, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if it wasn't for bodybuilding. And it continues to be, in that I like to go into the gym and I like to train. I like to coach people in the gym. I love it because I love this. For me, bodybuilding is about the gym, the training. That's the most important thing. That's the core for me. And that's what I love. Even when I was Mr. Olympia and in the thick of bodybuilding, it's all I did. I wouldn't go to a bodybuilding contest to watch a contest because it was joyous and entertaining for me. It's bloody boring. Yeah. It was interesting if my mates competed and I want to see him compete, but, and let's be honest, the Mr. Olympias of the past few years hasn't been really that exciting. There isn't really any outstanding physiques. Sorry, people, but I'm just going to tell you the truth.
That's what I was going to ask you. How has it changed since your days? It's getting better? Is it getting worse?
Well, the industry is much bigger, right? But let's say in the 80s and 90s, everyone's going to the gym, wants to be a bodybuilder, right? It's hardcore, proper gyms. Everyone going there is aspiring to be a bodybuilder or maybe compete, and that was the culture, yeah? Now, there's 100 times more gyms. There's gyms on every corner, right? But the corporate gyms, it's not like a guy that loves bodybuilding and he's opened his little gym and is passionate and he wants to help everybody and it's got this family feeling, and that's how it used to be. Now it's a soulless place owned by a corporation that, who are they? We don't know. It's just a corporation to make money. They don't care. They don't know anything about, you go to these places and it's full of, like, I went to one of these places where you got to get a pass and it's swiping and the door opens and all this stuff. There's no staff there practically. And nobody in the gym has got a blind idea what they're doing. And they all look like shit, like they've never been to the gym. And it's a big industry. So it's different. And as far as the competitive sport goes, there's just more and more categories, more and more, So there's more people competing. But if you're asking me about pure bodybuilding, then I think it's quite obvious it's not as good as it used to be. Let's be honest, But there's more categories. There's like 10 women's classes where there used to be one. There's, what you got, a men's physique, classic physique, open bodybuilding, probably another one. So there's more people in this industry. But if we're talking bodybuilding, like pure bodybuilding, then it's less, I think. There's more people going to the gym, there's more people doing competitions, but it's not bodybuilding, it's something else.
Do you ever keep an eye on any of the UK guys that are up and coming to see if anyone's going to rival what you do?
I mean, if they get to the pro level, then I'll notice them. And we've got some good guys. I think Samson Duarte's from here. He's really got some good potential.
Hollinshead.
James Hollinshead.
Nathan Dash.
I like him because he trains heavy. He trains somewhat reminiscent to the way I used to do. So they're good bodybuilders. I say Samson's got the most potential there to be, to maybe win the Mr. Olympia or thereabouts. So that's great, but I think he still has some improvements to do. But I don't go to local competitions, but if a British guy gets to be pro, then I'll notice him and I'll know about him. Yeah.
So how much of bodybuilding is actually mental? Because obviously people think it's a very physical sport, which obviously it is, but how much of it is mental?
Well, I'll use one of my quotes now. It's become a quote. Everything's mental. Everything's mental. Like, you know, what you think and you project mentally is what's likely to happen, yeah? So if you focus on something and put all your energy into it, then it's likely to happen, you know? Whether that's a relationship, a business, a sport, so everything's mental. And, I mean, it's really what attracted me to it. I mean, it's physical, but your physical output is only going to match your mental output, right? So you're not going to go into the extremes, physical extremes, where you're really under distress, unless you're very motivated, right? Motivation comes from your mind. Planning comes from your mind. Whether you're going to do that 9th rep and 10th rep or you're not, it's from your mind, yeah? So I've always been aware of that and I always utilize that. I use techniques which is probably more commonplace now, like mental rehearsal. So I'd rehearse, like in my mind, going into the gym, I know what I'm wearing. First exercise is incline press. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And on the 4th set, I'm going to do this. Last week, what did I do? 8 reps. I've done 9. I've already done it in my head. Same thing as a competition. I won that so many times. It's like, give me the trophies. Okay.
Confirm me what you already knew.
I've done it so many times. So, first of all, writing down the workouts, you can plan what you're going to do today based on that one. And you know what it is because you got a record there. If you're a bit vague and you don't know what you did last week, or what's your, you know, where's your target? What's your target? What you're really aiming for today? So that's all part of it. And goal setting, making goals, and again, writing things down. If you want to do something in your life, write it down. Not on a computer. Write it down with a pen and paper and sign it. Who signed that? Who said they were going to do that? You, mate. You signed it. You put a fucking date there as well. I am going to do this because that's what you want to do, right? And you write it down and you signed it. So don't you think if you did that, there's a much better chance that you're going to succeed in that than if you didn't write it down and just said, well, you know what, I'm going to stop smoking. You're just saying it. But if you wrote it down, it's become a real commitment. Yeah, you've said that, you've signed that. Yeah, I'm just using that as an example, but it could be anything, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd have goals, like monthly goals for the gym, strength, basic exercise reps, and everything like that. I'd have my diet, have my, you know, I want to gain whatever 2-3 pounds this month or whatever it is. All that stuff would be written down. And that is all, again, focusing all your energy into this thing. You only have so much focus, so much energy. So the more you focus into that, the better results you're going to get. And I find that writing things down, planning things out is very helpful. So all that's mental. So, yeah, you know, I'm sure that I was able to beat people with more physical potential than me. For instance, I always use Flex Wheeler. I don't want to pick on him, but he knows that he didn't give 100%. He knows he cheated on his diet sometimes when he's getting ready for the contest, and then he's kicked himself in the ass and all that stuff. If a guy like Flex Wheeler had done what I'd done, maybe he could have beat me. Because, I mean, you know, some people just are very predisposed to building muscle easily. But often, when somebody's very gifted naturally, sometimes they don't appreciate it and they don't think they have to grind, yeah? Somebody else that's maybe a bit like a bit hungrier or it's a mental edge. So everyone's good in a competition. I should imagine it's the same in any sport. You got top 10 in the world, they're all great, right? So what's going to separate the one's place to another place is all in the mind, really, at that point, because they're all going to be physically suited to whatever it is they're doing, basketball, bodybuilding, whatever. There's just certain physical types that you need that's going to do well. So it's going to be the mind that separates that. And it's everything. I believe the way that you're thinking and the energy that you give out is simply mirrored back to you. So if you're thinking bad things, like, oh, I got no money, I don't feel well, you know what you're going to get? More of no money, more of not feeling well. Because it's almost like your focus is a request. Oh, that's what you want, then I'll just give you some more of that then, yeah? So you got to be very careful what you're thinking about and what you're focusing on. And that's an art to itself that I'm only feeling that I'm mastering now, mate. And I'm 60 years old and I've been doing this for a long, long time. To know what your thoughts are, first of all, and to recognize them before they take roots, you know? You don't want weeds to grow in your garden, right? So if you see weed seeds blowing in, you better stop them before they land and start putting some roots in there and growing and getting more power. So that's an ongoing process.
Was that saying in there that where focus goes, energy flows?
Exactly that, mate. Yeah. Exactly that. You know, so you got to be careful what you're thinking about on a regular basis. And if you're thinking bad, recognize it. You know, I used to work on the security on the nightclubs and that. Only for a little bit when I was starting out. So go, you know, some older guys from the gym go and they're like telling me like, look, if you let somebody in the club and they create a problem, it's the whole thing, mate. You got to get them out of there, and it's hassle, right? So if you see somebody outside that's coming in and you think, I don't like the vibe of this guy, or he's too drunk, or this guy is just a potential problem, you stop it there, mate, before they come inside the door. If you're going to have some problem, you have it there. There's no people there, there's no glasses around and all that. Same thing with your thoughts. I think, hey, stop them before they come in and it's creating problems. But in order to do that, you got to recognize them, right? You got to recognize that thought that's a problem. So meditation is something that I practice now a lot officially, whereas before I didn't really. But in a way, the workouts were a form of meditation. Because you go in a gym and you really focus on, you're not thinking about anything else. You're just thinking about, you're under that weight. You better be there present, otherwise you're going to get crushed, first of all. And then, you know, you got to control it, and then you can contract, and your mind gets inside the muscle. You don't fucking remember what your builds are or anything when you're doing that. So it's a form of meditation. There's lots of ways to do it, but the idea is to give your mind some stillness and slow everything down, so you can kind of recognize the thoughts, and you can listen to yourself saying things like, yeah, I'm no good at that. Hold on, what did you just say? Nah,
you got to be
say that to yourself.
Though.
Don't say that to yourself. Say, you know, I'm not really that good at the moment, but I like to get better at that, so I'll get better. Just change it, change the narrative.
So when did you really start to believe in yourself? I know you said like Ron Davis, he came to you and said that he really believed in you at that point, and you were like, well, you know, are you sure? Like, when did you really know that actually I am going all the way to the top?
Well, I had an indication then, but I was still building confidence. And then I won the British Championship one time, and I didn't win the overall because it was my first kind of experience of some politics, maybe, as I was. And some people didn't like that because I was not trying to be their friends or whatever, I don't know. So the guy that won the light heavyweight class, Chris Oskis, he got the overall to be pro, and I didn't. So that peed me off a bit, but it motivated me. I think when I won the British Championship the second time, I came back because I'm like, oh, I'm going to come back. I'm going to be so good, yeah. Like, if you put me second, it's just going to be a riot or something. It's just going to be stupid. It's just going to be stupid, yeah. So that's what I did. And the same lady that put me second in 86 did it again in 88. And I asked her why afterwards. And she said, because I think you're getting too big. I was like, what, 16 and a half stone? I was eventually 18 and a half stone, 19 stone on the Olympia stage. So I think she got it wrong a little bit, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, there's a more story to that, and I'm gonna release it soon.
Okay, cool. We'll look forward to that. So to win at the sort of level that you did and the amount of times that you did, are you the sort of person that's always wanting more? You have to be that sort of person.
No,
not
at all. I was that person.
Okay,
but I've learned that you can chase the gold at the end of the rainbow, and you can keep chasing. And I see it with so many people. It's an interesting question. What's really success? Because society says that if you got a lot of money, that's successful. But I would question that. That's not success. Success, for me, is to find a place of peace in life, and that your life is having some positive impacts on other people, the world around you, and so on. For me, that's success. That I've come to that conclusion after being the young guy that was striving to. But money was never really that important to me. It's never really it's nice to have, of course, and it was nice for me to be a fairly wealthy and in people's eyes successful from bodybuilding, just from this sport, where traditionally you're supposed to get a profession and all this stuff, and I did it through bodybuilding, which is great because I could be like this to society. Like, I've done everything my own way, and my own man, nobody can tell me what to do. I'm in control of my own destiny. So yeah, I hear a lot of these guys on the internet, drive, go, work harder, make more money, buy more cars, more. It's never fucking ending. And you'll never be happy chasing that, because the money, if 1 million, 2 million, 100, what's the difference, man? It's not gonna give you the feeling of satisfaction. That I know people that, wealthy people, I know other people that know really wealthy people, and none of them seem to be that happy to me, because it's an illusion. Yeah, you're chasing an illusion, and everything that you've built one day will not really mean anything when you're dying. Your Ferrari will turn to rust, and every material thing eventually ends up being nothing. It returns to dust, just like the rest of us. So I think the important question is, what did you do when you were there? How did you touch the world around you and the people around you? And I feel like the bodybuilding, I did it for me, and I achieved my goals. And it was that, it's almost like very self-centered, tunnel vision. But what I realize now is that absolute focus and absolute drive of, I felt like I have to do this. It's not a choice. I have to do it. Now I know why. Yeah, it's created my life, but it's given me a platform. It's given me a platform where people listen to me, and the feedback I get is they're inspired. It's something I said, something I did has changed their lives. I've had so many people. I've had people come up, tears in their eyes, and just saying like, "Just thanks, you saved my life." I'm like, I just heard something. So I'm out there and I'm just doing my thing and talking, telling my story and sharing things with the intention of helping somebody that's listening. I mean, that's my position that I'm in now, and I can do that.
Did you ever let yourself really enjoy those Olympia wins back then, or was it just focus on the next one? I mean, we talk about Kazmaier, and one of the clips when I was researching his episode, they were interviewing him straight after the 82 win, and they says, congratulations on winning the World's Strongest Man title, and each went, well, even though it was only 2 seconds ago, I've already forgotten about it. I'm focused on coming back next year, and it was like,
I think I said something similar, because after the Olympia, you've won the Olympia and everything. Like, when would you start preparing for next year's Mr. Olympia? And Americans don't really get the English kind of dry humour sometimes. So I just looked at the guy and I said, tomorrow. Yeah. No, he thought he didn't understand the question. He's like, no. When will you start? Preparing for next year. I said, mate, tomorrow. Yeah. The second time, I think they understood what I was saying. It's just, I've done that now, yeah. Straight on to the next one. But that's the mode I was in at that time.
Did you ever take any downtime after the show? Was it literally straight back in the gym?
I went on holiday with the family, and it's unnecessary, but sometimes psychologically it's necessary to do a certain thing. So when I went on holiday with the family, I would still go to the gym. Yeah, I think now, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I just had a few weeks off with the family. It wouldn't make that much difference. But it kind of would in my mind, if you know what I mean. And there's a story about when I got stuck in a snowstorm in Birmingham and I walked all the way to the gym because I couldn't drive or anything. And again, it was, if I'd have missed that workout that day, would it have made any difference at the end of the year? No. But psychologically, it was like, I'm not giving up. I'm even snowed in. Yeah, take a day off, mate. Everyone knows no one's going to work today. No one's doing anything today, mate. It's snowed in. No, I refuse to do that. I'm going to the gym just to make a point. That's it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your training philosophy. Yeah. Obviously, high intensity training. You've made this famous. What is it?
Well, I wouldn't say that I made it famous because I'm one of the people that's promoted it and I'm not the originator. I didn't pick out of the air. There's people that's come before me. So the first one would be Arthur Jones, who was the guy that built the Nautilus training machines. And he kind of made us aware of some kind of science behind training and bodybuilding, which was not talked about before. It was all a bit like, voodoo stuff, like go to train this amount of times. And, Arnold would sell his chest routine and people would buy Arnold's chest routine thinking if they do Arnold's chest routine, they get Arnold's chest and things like that because we didn't know certain things. But Arthur Jones pointed out that your potential to build a physique, a bodybuilding physique, is genetic. And I'm going to do a whole podcast on this, I think, because it's what do we mean when we talk about genetics for bodybuilding? Well, first of all, there's a skeletal structure, which you can't change. It's your skeletal structure. And for bodybuilding purposes, for the aesthetics of bodybuilding, you're generally looking for somebody with a wider shoulder structure, narrower waist, hips, preferably longer legs to torso ratio, which gives you a more aesthetic look and gives you a wider V. So that's your skeletal structure. Can't do anything about that, right? It is what it is. Then you've got muscles, and muscle belly length varies. So you could have a bicep right from up here all the way down to your elbow joint, or you could have one halfway. So somebody that's got a muscle belly that's, say, for argument's sake, 6 inches long, or the other guy's got one that's 3 inches long. The guy with the muscle belly that's 6 inches long has double the potential size of the other guy. Nothing you can do about that. So successful bodybuilders are people that, first of all, have a good skeletal structure. Some of them don't, so it's less important than the muscle belly, but basically large muscle bellies on the majority of your body. There's very rare that somebody has all muscle belly, like all super long. The guy that I can think of probably closest is Sergio Oliva. I mean, he had no really weak muscle groups. And if you don't have that, then you won't be a successful pro bodybuilder. It don't matter what you do. So that's genetics, and Arthur Jones was the first one to point all this stuff out. And what is it that triggers muscle growth? What's the trigger? It's the intensity of effort, the momentary effort. Yeah? If it was volume, as people say, then you would just keep doing more, right? If you start with 5 sets of bench press, then 10 would be better eventually, I guess, and 15 and 20 and so on, right? So it's the intensity of exercise. So absolutely, you can trigger exercise in a muscle group with 1 set. But you need to warm up. So it's not really 1 set. So there's, sometimes some misunderstanding about Dorian does 1 set. I'll do 1 set maximum to failure at the end, but I might do 2 sets to warm up, or 1 or 3, or it depends on the exercise, where it is, and so on. But the idea is to get safely to that point of failure on an exercise and then move on. So you don't need a lot of volume. There needs to be a trigger to trigger the muscle growth. And that trigger is, I'm under too much stress. I've never been under this stress before, so I need to adapt to this stress by becoming a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. And that's the process. I mean, if you break it down, the whole thing's fairly simple, but it's become overcomplicated. And there's thousands of people online that call themselves experts and all contradicting each other and all with a different theory. Because it's an industry now where people are making money and they want to have their own, system and so on. So it's fairly common sense, and I believe it's the best way to train, the most efficient way to train. And let me address some things that I hear. Yeah, it's okay doing one set in HIIT training because you're on steroids. Well, all the pro bodybuilders are on steroids, but actually it's the reverse. What do steroids do? They enhance your recovery ability. So what most bodybuilders do, they're simply overtraining, but they're using steroids. So it's kind of, you can recover from something. Where if you're natural, you won't try to train 6 days a week and you're natural. I'm guaranteeing you're not going to grow, not for very long. You won't recover if you train 6 days a week and you're not taking steroids. That's what all the pros don't tell you. Why are they able to train 6 days a week and still progress? Because they're taking steroids, growth hormone. Did Dorian Yates take steroids and growth hormone? Yeah, absolutely I did. But I also had what I think is a more efficient training system. So I'm not saying that training don't work, that Arnold did or somebody else, because obviously the proof's in the pudding. They build a great physique, but they could have done it quicker, more efficiently, and so on. And if you're not taking steroids, HIIT is even better. If you're not taking steroids, you shouldn't be training more than 3 or 4 times a week for an hour each session. If you're focusing and you're going properly, you need to train intensely and you need to recover. So there's 2 factors. The training signal is enough intensity, I've done enough damage, now you've got to recover. After you're recovered, then you can overcompensate and grow. So there needs to be 3 phases: stimulation, enough rest to recover, and growth before you go and do it again. And can some guys train a body part twice a week and recover? Apparently some guys can if they're using a lot of stuff, but for me it was just once a week, so each body part once a week. So I say on all the podcasts, maybe I'm getting repetitive, but if you're not progressing, try a shorter, more abbreviated routine. Give it a go. Just really focus on what you're doing and have a short workout 3 times a week. You'll probably find you're going to start responding again.
I mean, kind of answer my question that I had next. I was going to say, like, you've got your style of the HIT. You've got the Milos's very high volume sort of style. Your one set all out, obviously with warm ups, versus giant sets and stuff like that. Have you ever had that discussion with Milos or that kind of debate? I'd quite like to see that.
Well, Milos is working with guys that are already big pro bodybuilders. Yeah. Are giant sets ineffective in building muscle? No, not really. Are they going to burn a lot of calories and stuff? Yeah. So guys that are near their maximum potential, just pumping a lot of blood through the muscle is going to maintain it, and it's going to burn calories and help you get into shape. But if there's a kid out there, 20-year-old kid, and wants to build muscle and build physique, are you going to do it during giant sets? Have a go, kid. Let me know. But I'll tell you, no. You will not build muscle doing giant sets. Come on. No way. You're going to need to do heavy, basic exercises, get strong on basic exercises, and you get big. Giant sets, no. You're just going to be spinning your wheels, and might be okay if you're already big and you want to just get into shape. Milos is working with pro bodybuilders, not working with a kid that needs to build. Yeah, hasn't got the muscle already. So you can do pretty much any kind of training to get into shape. You could do less cardio and just do more weights. And, that's what Arnold and those guys used to do. They didn't do cardio. They trained 6 days a week, twice a day, getting ready for a contest. But what they're doing is basically using the weights, going in for an hour in the morning, an hour at night. Of course, you're burning a lot of calories. And if you're in a calorie-restricted diet, that's going to help get you into shape. But even with Arnold, how did Arnold get big? He was at his maximum size when he was like 21, 22. And how did he get there? Heavy bench press, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy curls, heavy presses. That's all he did. Yeah. Then when he was already big, he's taking steroids and doing a lot of weight training in the gym and burning off the excess body fat. And you won't get big doing that. Yeah, it's okay for a competitive bodybuilder getting into shape that's already got the muscle size and is taking a lot of anabolics. It'll work then, but it's still not the best way to do it.
Really pleased to announce that this podcast is now also brought to you by CNP. I'm only ever going to collaborate with companies that I genuinely believe in, which is why I'm so excited to be joining forces with CNP on the Mr. Universe Meets podcast. I've been using CNP products since I first started training. I started back in the day on their ProMass, and the CNP Whey and ProPeptide were a staple in every single off-season and prep phase I did, including the Mr. World and Mr. Universe wins. Not forgetting, of course, my favourite product of theirs, the Pro Recover, which has been my go-to post-workout shake for the best part of 20 years. 4 scoops after every workout still to this day. They are a brand that has stood the test of time and have been a constant through my bodybuilding career, and a brand we've always stocked over the last 18 years of owning my own gyms. They are also one of the only brands you will see giving back to the bodybuilding scene by sponsoring shows, giving away prizes and actively trying to make things better for competitors. So I'm really proud that my podcast is now associated with the very best in the business. You can go to the CNP Instagram and check out their products and offers. The link will be below this podcast. So obviously you spoke then about your recovery, and obviously nutrition's a part of that.
Absolutely,
what did your nutrition look like back in the day?
High protein, gram and a half, in between 1 gram and a half per pound of body weight. So at some point it was up to 300 pounds. So it was like 450 grams, 450 grams a day. About 100 grams of fat, because you do need fat for certain absorption of certain nutrients and hormone production and everything. So you shouldn't be scared to have sufficient fat in your diet. And then the third factor is carbohydrates, which is simply a form of energy. That's all it does. No other. So for me, I called that the sliding rule. So I got my protein, 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per body weight. Off season, pre-contest, doesn't matter. That's staying the same. I need the fats. Off season, pre-contest, doesn't matter. Staying the same. So if I want to gain weight or I want to lose weight, the sliding scale is in the middle, the carbohydrates. That's how I increase my calories, a bit more carbs. So decrease it, a little bit less carbs. And you need to be like maintenance calories plus a bit in the off season when you're trying to gain, and when you're getting ready to contest, maintenance minus, plus you got the choice to just reduce your calories or to reduce your calories somewhat and increase your expenditure through cardio, which would be my recommendation, rather than doing what, say, Milos does or Arnold, which is a lot of sets and reps and just burning energy and pumping. So you're maintaining your muscle with that kind of training and you're burning calories at the same time. So that is a different approach. I wanted to keep my training heavy and intense and light cardio, which wouldn't interfere with my recovery from the weight training. So for cardio, I would do fast walking for like an hour, or I'd do a stationary bike for 30, 40 minutes, and I'd do it twice a day. So I'd do 1 in the morning, 1 at the night, getting ready for a competition.
Yeah. And I mean, you're 60 now?
61, yeah.
61,
coming
yes.
up 62, man.
And
looking forward to it. Looking forward to being a beast when I'm 70 still.
Well, you're still in great shape now, so
Yeah.
like, what's your nutrition look like now?
My nutrition now is I do intermittent fasting. So I eat probably twice a day. I might have a juice or a shake in between, but I probably eat the first meal at 2 o'clock now. So I do a lot of stuff. I do my thing in the morning, go walking with the dogs, do my meditation, breathing, go to the gym, train. If I got a client, and first meal's at 2 o'clock. And it's more protein and fat based and less carbs now. As I've got older, I think I'll eat less carbs and more fat as an energy source than carbohydrates. I did a podcast some time ago with a medical expert called Rick Scala, and he was an ex-triathlete, and he worked with triathletes, and he works with he teaches doctors as above. And we had a discussion about heart disease in bodybuilding, which is partly due to steroid use, But he said they had the same things in the triathlete circles, and they weren't using steroids. But guess what they were doing? Whacking in carbs all day long, just like bodybuilders. Eating 6 times a day, a lot of carbs, and this is spiking your blood sugar over and over again for many years, and this is damaging. So, you know, there may be a best diet for bodybuilding, but maybe it's not the best diet for longevity and health. So there's different diets for different things. So I'm now concerned just to maintain my muscle, you know, which is a healthy thing. So I do weight training for that, but I don't go heavy because a lot of wear and tear on the joints and stuff from the heavy training. So I do weight training twice a week just to maintain my muscles. I do Pilates or yoga, which is more movement stuff. I do a bit of biking to keep in shape. So my goal is to keep the muscle mass and keep my flexibility and cardiovascular VO2 output as I'm getting older. And I'm enjoying getting older. It's like a lot of my friends are like, oh, I'm getting old now. It's tough getting old, isn't it? I'm like, no, it's great. I'm fine. Like, I feel good, you know, and I just want to keep feeling like that. I actually did like a load of tests when I was down in Brazil last year with my wife, sports clinic in Rio. And they did the VO2 max test where you go all out on the bike and they've got the breathing apparatus and they take blood pressure and heart monitor and how fast does your heart recover after reaching peak exercise and this and that. And I was really happy because they assessed my biological age to be about 35 years old based on the data. And they told me they have bodybuilders going in there 25 to 30 years old and they're not matching me on the results. So, you know, whatever you're doing a good job. And I said, I'll do cardio for 6 minutes twice a week. Because I do intervals, I do like 20 seconds all out and then 40 seconds active rest, and just very intense as I do with the training. And maybe I do like a long bike ride once a week. So I'm doing what I did with the weights, with the cardio. And I mean, there's the results, it's in black and white.
So even after obviously pushing your body to the limits in bodybuilding, you were able to kind of reverse damage a little bit.
Slowly. I mean, it wasn't an overnight process, right? You've been lifting weights and doing bodybuilding, and that's what you know. You just keep doing it, right? But then I had a lot of experience with psychedelics and a lot of downloads and a lot of messages. And one of them was like, you need to start stretching and doing yoga and doing different things because, you know, you get lifting weights, you get very stiff and limited range of motion because you only move in certain planes of motion. You're pushing, you're never turning. There's a lot of things you don't do, right? So I almost wanted to like remake my body. So it was not just strong, but it was also flexible and mobile and with a good cardio. So I do a little bit for each area, and that's what I continue to do. And of course, using a lot of supplements as well. I have my own company, so and we're expanding on that right into the wellness area, which has been really what I've been studying for the last 10, 15 years. I haven't been studying bodybuilding because I feel like I pretty much maxed that out, and this is very interesting to me now. How can we age better? How can we have more potential as we're aging? And it's a combination between weight training. Now weight training is like, it's being recognized, strength training, to be more important as you're getting older than, for instance, your VO2 max, your cardio. Train both of them, that's my advice. But the one thing that's going to preserve your health more than anything else is either preserving your muscle mass if you have a good level of it, or if you're not, as you're getting older, start training and get your muscle mass back to the level when you were 25, is going to have so much positive effects on your overall health. Like as you lose muscle mass, as you get older, many things, your ability and your receptors for insulin and for sugar is going to go down, because as you have less muscle mass, you have less receptors. So then your blood sugar starts creeping up and you're getting into pre-diabetic or diabetic territory because you've lost the muscle mass. Now you can't process it so well. Many things like that that's connected to muscle mass. So that's key as you're getting older. If you've already been bodybuilding when you're younger, great, just maintain it. If you haven't, then as you're getting older, it's time to just start doing some weight training to get that muscle back where it was.
Yeah, so you said you got the supplement company now. Was that something that was always in the pipeline for after you retired from training?
I've been involved with a few companies. I had DY Nutrition in its current form now for the last 5 years. Now we've got our own manufacturing facility and got a lot of ideas for the future for products. So we've got a bodybuilding range, Shadow line, and then we're expanding more into, there's almost two Dorian Yates. Dorian Yates the bodybuilder and Dorian Yates now. That's, there's many names for it that I'm interested in. Anti-aging, wellness. I'm calling it life optimization because anti-aging, it's a bit, we're all going to age and we're all going to die, right, eventually. But what quality of life can you have in the meantime? So it's optimizing that quality of life as you're getting older. And, when I was a kid, a 60-year-old man was an old man, right? 60-year-old man was done when I was a kid. Well, it don't have to be like that, does it? So that's kind of my role now, not just in a physical, but in a mental and a spiritual as well. Like help people become better versions of themselves, and we all can. I think our potential as human beings is like, it's really unlimited. And I did something a bit unusual with my life because of my focus and everything, but I still think that ain't nothing, man. I really think that we got a lot more potential than we're known, and I think we've been programmed out of that since we were kids, since we went to school and teach us to think only in a certain way, a certain box and everything. So my whole life has just been fighting that and undoing it, I think.
Yeah. Well, you said then you've obviously used the psychedelics and like the DMT, the ayahuasca, that sort of thing. Like, for those that don't know, like, what is that and what happens when you take that?
Yeah, not an easy answer to that, really. A psychedelic is a plant substance. You might call it a drug, but it's naturally occurring in plants. So I would say they're plant teachers that are here. They're part of the planet, they're part of the ecosystem, but they store a lot of knowledge. And you can go back to any spiritual belief, any religion, anything, and what will you find at the start of it? They won't tell you now, but what were the higher people doing? What were the priests doing behind closed doors that they weren't sharing with the people that are hoarding the knowledge? They're using plants because it connects you to everything. All the information of whatever's ever happened, whatever could happen is all in one place. It's knowledge, and it's tapping into that, and it'll show you a lot about yourself and about your life, and from different angles, from the way you perceive it. So you might see that in your story of life, this person might be a bad guy, might be the asshole in your life, but maybe you see the whole situation from a different angle. So now he's not an asshole. Here's the guy that had problem, he had injury, and because of that he behaved like this. You just see everything from a whole different perspective. You see it's like coming up and seeing above, and there's many levels to it. It's very therapeutic because we all have a lot of things hidden in the subconscious from things that happen to us and beliefs and stuff like that, and it's affecting us. Is in the back of our brain, so we're not conscious about this going on, but it's there and it's having a major effect on the way you behave and on your life. So it's almost like you're opening all those boxes where all that stuff was stuffed, and you're opening it up and you're having a look at it and sorting it out and cleaning it out and stuff like that. So
what made you go down that road then? Is that something you'd been researching for a while before you tried it?
I'm just really curious, man. All my life I'm just thinking, what is this? What is it? What is this life? What are we doing? Why are we here? Where do we come from? What's it all about? Like, fucking all the time. And I don't understand why everybody else is not thinking like that all the time. They're just thinking, well, she'll buy from Tesco's. Of course we all do that. We all have to live a life. But in my mind, this is a question that's just like being analyzed and thought. I love thinking. I love questioning. And that's going on all the time. And it's just an access It's just a key to way more wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I would recommend it to anybody.
So is there any sort of insights or lessons that you could kind of share with people from your journey that would benefit people, or is it just so specific to you that there's no real crossover?
I mean, it's an individual experience that you will have, but there will be some thread that probably runs through all of them, and that's the realization that you're not separate. You're not separate, you're not alone. Like, everything is the same thing. You, me, fucking this table, everything is the same thing. It's all one thing that thinks it's all separate. Like, you have a body, I have a body, but this body is made up of, what, billions of cells, right? So maybe each cell inside my body just thinks, I'm just me, I'm a cell and I'm on my own. And no, it's part of a body, and my body is part of this planet, and this planet's part of something else, and it's all one thing, almost playing a game with itself. Like, if you were God, let's say, and so you knew everything, and you're everything, and you know everything, maybe you would make a game where you forgot all that, just for entertainment purposes. I'm not really sure what the reason is, but I know this is all a game, it's all an illusion. And I mean, quantum physicists and scientists are saying that, is we live in a simulation. The question is, who made the simulation? So I see it like this, like, we're all God. We've been told we're separate, and somehow you have to make your way back. Like, oh, you're a sinner, right? So you're fucked now, mate, unless you make your way back. And how are you going to make your way back? Oh, I'll tell you. Listen to me, in my church, and here's the rules, and this is what you got to do, and that's how you do it. Oh, fuck you, mate, and your church, because I'm already there. It's inside me. Yeah, so we're all in our lives looking outside for something. Is it money? Is it sex? Is it this? Is it that? What's gonna, it's inside you. That's the biggest trick.
Do you do the retreats much
nowadays?
I've
done 3 retreats in Costa Rica that I headed up, and it's like 20 people at a retreat. And like, most of those people are just like, this is the most amazing, life-changing experience I've ever had. And that's just like standard that people will say that. They're not going to go there and say, well, weren't that good. Like, you're not going to say that, yeah? So it's just going to change you. Yeah, you got more information, you got more data, you got more information in your brain. So therefore, your perspective is going to change. You're going to look at life differently. So, yeah, I would, if you're feeling like that, like, this is sounding curious, like, this is sounding like I might need to do that, then it's like, that's your time, that's your call.
And you got to go abroad to do that, right? Or
no, I mean, there's lots of different psychedelics, right? The ayahuasca is the main one that I've done, and I went abroad to do that because, I mean, it's from South America, the plants and everything, and the people that have been doing it for generations and generations, like certain tribes in Peru that do it, the Shipibo are the ones that I've worked with. And, I could set up a camp tomorrow and in Birmingham, Dorian's a shaman, because I could say that, couldn't I? I've done like 20-something ayahuasca ceremonies, but I'm not a shaman. So there's lots of people setting them up. Again, it becomes a business, right? So I've done it in South America just because that's the tradition, and those tribes have been working with this plant for generations and generations, and they've been, training for years to be a shaman, and they're a big part of the ceremony. It's okay, yeah, you're taking a substance, but there's more to it. These are the people that work with the energies and control, and so I think it's important to do it at a place where it's very professional. So that's why I go down there. But they got camps in Spain, they got camps all over the place, but there's none that I would particularly recommend.
You had lots of different chapters to your life and lots of different identities and stuff like this. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
Just for being brave enough to be an individual and do and say and live exactly the way that I believe is the way to do it, and I think that's what everyone should do. As long as your existence is not harming somebody else, you should do and live the way you want to live. That's simple. And the more people that do that, the more people will do that. Because it takes somebody first to step forward and say, listen, I don't give a fuck, yeah? I'm going to just live my life and be me, and that's my life. It is your life, yeah? It's your story that you want to tell with your life, yeah? Not your mum's, not your dad's, not anyone's, not your teachers, not society's, nothing. It's your life, yeah? And it's your gift to create whatever you want to create. Don't get stuck, Don't get stuck, and don't think you ever need to suppress something that you feel is you because somebody else don't like it, or society says that's wrong, or whatever it is. As long as you are not hurting or interfering with somebody else's life, then you should be able to live it as the way you want.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. It's like we've actually pulled our kids out of school. We homeschool.
Good job, man.
Yeah, because again, we just felt that we're just at school. It's a tough job for the teachers, but we felt that we're just ticking boxes really, and not really getting the very best out.
I always said that it's not about education; it's indoctrination.
Yeah,
and it's a mind program. Yeah, and it's interesting because recently I read this study. I don't know who did it, but they wanted to study kids when they're 3 years old. Like to pre-study them to see how many of these kids are like outstanding, that can be geniuses. Yeah, you know what they found? Like 90% showed genius potential until they went to school. After 1 year of school, then it's down to 50%, and so on until the longer they spent in school, the less their potential was. Most of the stuff at school is totally irrelevant to your life, and stuff that's relevant and important you don't get taught about at school, yeah? You don't get taught about money. What is money? Where does it come from? How does it work? They don't teach you about that. What's tax? Why am I being taxed? What's it about? Where's it going? They don't teach you about that. They don't teach you how to cope. They teach you just enough to be an obedient worker, a product. They're not looking to make you a genius. If you're a genius, you might work out they're all assholes and you don't want to listen to them. So they don't want that,
And that's the thing. It's like, so we have, they're only 3 and 5, but they do a little bit of English and maths in the morning. We teach them a little bit of Spanish as well, because we want to learn a language, and the rest of it's a lot of sport. And, that was it really. Like you say, it felt like they were becoming little mini robots.
You're in school, you're inside a building for 8 hours a day, sitting down, and if you fidget and don't pay attention, then you got ADHD, right? And you need to be medicated. How about that's just fucking normal for a kid?
Kids being kids,
Kids should be outside exploring and playing and not stuck in a room all day. It's totally unnatural, yeah? But you're forced to do it. And like, I don't know now, they can't now, of course, but when I was a kid, if you didn't do it, you get beaten up. You get beaten. Well, that's how they trained us when I was kids.
We got one, you get this little app, and you could see, like we say, he was at school for the first year, and they give like the point system and stuff, and he got points for good sitting. And I thought, I don't want him getting points for sitting down and just fucking being quiet.
Good points for being quiet and obedient and following the rules. There's this training camp.
Yeah.
And my kids went to school, but I always, you're going to school, you're going to learn to read and write. That's about it, really. It's a mathematics. It's going to be practically useful in your life. What did I learn at school that was useful? I can read, I can write, I can do mathematics.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
The rest in life, I've learned myself, and I was there for 10 years. 10, 11, 12 years of your life, you're going to be stuck in that system. And that's all the useful stuff I learned. And I knew it was all wrong. I knew I shouldn't be there. And then I was the kid that never did homework, because I'm like, you got me here all day. Now you're sending me home with more work to do. I ain't doing that. I never did it. I just wouldn't do it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, they don't teach you about the finances. Their food education is baking a cake. It's not real nutrition. There's so much stuff that's actually missing there that you actually need.
The main thing is that you've learned to follow the rules. There's more. That's what you're being taught, yeah? I teach my kids to question everything. I said, I'll tell you a lot of stuff, yeah, but it's fine to question me, or it's fine to like go out and see, is he right about that? Let me do my research and come to my own conclusion. Think for yourself. That's what I taught my kids. So good for you, mate, if you're taking the kids out of the system and teaching yourself.
Well, look, we've got a few to wrap up, mate. Just a couple of quick ones to wrap up with. All right, probably an impossible question. Arnie, Haney, you, Ronnie, J, Phil, you're all in the same era.
Yeah.
You all have the same advantages when it comes to drugs, nutrition, scientific training. Who wins that?
That's really hard to say, isn't it? Because take somebody from one era and put them into another era, how they would look, and it's really impossible to say. Each era has, Arnold was outstanding for his era, right? Head and shoulders above other people. How would it be in this era? Would it be the same? I don't know, because he had a great frame and some really as far as pecs go, no one's ever beaten Arnold to this day. So pecs and biceps, and had a good frame. But, his legs were quite weak. Would they be better? Possibly. It's really, really hard to say. It's really difficult to say. And
you ever seen a bodybuilder work as hard as you?
Not personally, no. The guys that trained with me worked hard, and I saw them because I was there. But I've trained other people, like Chris came to train with me, Chris Cormier, who trained at Gold's Gym, and he trained with everybody. And have a look what he says about it. He said it was a new day, it was night and day. He said I was reborn when I trained with Dorian. I thought I was training hard, I thought this, I thought that. I thought I knew what intensity was. And I trained with Charles Glass, and that was interesting because different angles and this and that, but it's intensity. So, there are the guys out there that train real hard, like Tom Platz had a reputation, but he would train differently to me. So some of the stuff he did, I thought it's a bit of a waste of time. And the thing is, it's all good about like you getting super psyched up and you train really hard today, but you got to do that every day. Every time you go in the gym, you got to do that. That consistency. That's what I had.
Yeah.
That I would do that. There would be no off days, no variable, because I would try to control all the variable factors. Control my sleep, control my rest, control my food. That's why I didn't like traveling and going different places, because I would lose control over that.
You were real strict on that routine then?
Absolutely. I was militant on it. Like I said, I slept 10 hours a day. Every day, man. It's not 9, 10. Every day. 6 meals. On time. Every day. I wouldn't be more than 10 or 15 minutes out on when I'm eating a meal. So CD, but you want to be the best in the world, man. It's a very extreme goal, so you have to do extreme measures.
Yeah. So, right, biggest lesson that you can take from training and competing and transfer over to everyday life?
Everything is the same thing, right? Focus, discipline, anything you want to be, you got to bring energy to it. You got to put your focus into it. It's the same thing, A lot of guys who are doing bodybuilding, their relationships suffer. Why? Because they're putting all the focus into bodybuilding, not into the relationship. So then maybe you need to share it. But as I said, what I was doing was extreme. Yeah. So all my focus was going into that. Everything else was secondary. Everything else. So the focus that you learn in bodybuilding, the discipline, and the inner strength that you get, yeah? Because when you do that and you're in the gym, it's really tough, yeah? And you push through it, yeah? You push through it. You feel like a stronger person. And when you hit obstacles in life, which inevitably you will, you'll handle that with more strength as well. So it's like a microcosm. The gym, what you do in gym, you do in life in a macro level. So you learn strength, you learn discipline, all that stuff you can apply to your life. And then as you get older, more experienced, you learn to, ultimately, you're going to get balance, yeah? So I did bodybuilding, absolute extreme, no socializing, all this, 100% extreme. And then at one point, I was off partying, nightclubs, or to a bit of an extreme. But then eventually it came in the middle. So all the things I've done in life eventually just bring me to the middle ground where I feel I got balance and I got peace. But hey, it took me a long time, you know.
So when you're doing the partying, was that just like, it was just years of living like a monk, and just you went totally the other way?
Yeah, it went the other way, and it was like, fuck, man, you deserve this. So, you know. But it wasn't a drug addict.
It wasn't that you felt like lost.
I was still going to the gym.
That. It wasn't that you felt lost after the competing.
Yeah,
a little bit as well.
It was that I was lost. Yeah, I had lost the whole sense of identity, and I was very much focusing on what I lost. Like, my career's over. It was with an injury, so I not planned it as I like to plan everything. So that was out of control. I literally, it's like, who am I? I mean, I've been this guy all this time. I've been playing this role. I've been on this journey. I've been this focus. And now it's over. It's like, well, who are you? I mean, what are you going to do? And it was all this question. And then eventually I started thinking, well, instead of thinking about what you've lost, how about what you've gained? I mean, you're financially secure, right? You don't have a schedule. You can, what do you want to do? Oh, go on safari. I've wanted to go on safari. Yeah, go on safari, do this. And want to go out partying, chase women, do that, do all that, and then until you've had enough of it. Yeah, that's what happened. But it's almost like I had to do it to become the man I am today. Because if I only knew about bodybuilding, I would be one-dimensional. I know about many things. I've lived many things. I've experienced and met many people from different areas, and it's made me a rounded person now. I mean, as I said, I was never a drug addict, but I was a drug user, ecstasy, cocaine, alcohol, and all that stuff. And yeah, had some downtimes on that as well. But it's like, I can relate. If somebody comes to me now and like, hey, I'm having a bit of, I'm like, yeah, I know, mate, because I've been there. And such is my role now, to try and help people. It's almost, I end up doing life coaching for people, and trains people, but I end up doing life coaching with them as well.
Are you doing coaching still
yeah, because I like it, mate. I do a camp sometimes, a couple of times a year. I just did one in Orlando before the Mr. Olympia. So I'll be out. I do one in the States and one in Spain usually. Do a couple of camps a year, which is a week camp, certification camp, and we hang out, we go to lunch, and, you know, it becomes a transformative week for people, because I take them in the gym and I'll push them to where they think they can't go, and they discover something about themselves, some inner strength that they didn't even know they had. And I've had people come, and I had one guy, he wanted to be a trainer, but he wasn't confident, and I talked to him. I said, you can be a good trainer. And I told him all the way to do it. He was training people now. He's left his job he didn't like. He's training people. So there's a lot of stories like that, which is very satisfying to see. All I try to do is unplug the potential in people that they don't know they've had. But I just show them it a little bit, open the door. Like, it's through there, you can do it, mate. You think so? No, I know you can. I can tell you, I wouldn't bullshit you. And then they build up this strength and believe in themselves. And it bleeds into every area of your life, you know? So that's more satisfying for me than, like, if I help a guy win a bodybuilding contest. That's why I don't really coach bodybuilders for contests, because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, like, trying to see what other potentials in people, potential for life, because not everyone can be a competitive bodybuilder, or I wouldn't even recommend it to most people, because you're going to be taking steroids, potentially harming your health. For what? Like, I don't see the point. I did it as a career, and I had a cut-off point as well when I turned pro. I said, if I don't get in the top 5, that shows me I'm not good enough to be a real pro, and I won't compete again, and I won't take steroids, and I'll open another gym and do something else in bodybuilding. So I'm not really interested in that. Yeah. Like, you know, telling people what stack they should take and all this for a contest is not interesting for me. It's interesting for me to, like, help people reach more of their potential.
Brilliant. So last one, mate. If you could go back to day one, first day walking in the gym, and you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Nothing. Nothing, because I'm sitting here and I'm happy and I'm in a great place. So why go back and change anything? I would rather answer the question in, what did I learn that could be useful to somebody else. Because I got injured 2 times and I could have avoided that. So I could tell people now how to potentially avoid that situation. But would I go back and change it? No, because the whole trajectory of my life would change then, and maybe I would have competed too long and had a health problem that I don't have, or who knows what, it's a whole new, it changed one thing in the story, it changed the whole story. So I don't have regrets, I don't do that. I just have lessons that I've learned and I can share with other people. So no, I wouldn't change anything, mate.
Fantastic. Well, look, mate, you're an icon, a legend. This is super surreal for me this last couple of hours. So I'm so grateful, mate, that you came out today and
thanks for having me on, mate. Thanks
really
for having me
appreciate
on.
it. Thanks so much, pal.
Cool, brother.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. And if you need any more information on the Transformation Programme, just hit the link below.